Oh, hey there. I didn't notice. Hey, I was just playing my Game Boy Color. I was just doing a Pokemon challenge on this actually. In fact, if you're watching this, then maybe you've tried a Pokemon challenge before. Pokemon fans have been attempting challenge runs ever since the series launched. The Pokemon game loop encourages personalized playstyles, replayability, and leaves lots of room for the player to craft their own challenge. It's up to you to decide what team you want to use, how much training preparation, and how many items to use to improve your chances. There's as many different Pokemon challenges out there as you have the imagination to think up. But in almost 30 years of Pokemon history, there's never been a challenge like this one. This is the story of the Pokemon challenge that may never be defeated. This is Super Kaizo IronMON. In this video, we'll go over the history of the IronMON challenge and how we got here. Then we'll examine what changes with Super Kaizo IronMON. Next, we'll look at why this challenge is so daunting and see some examples of how the community has been tackling it. Finally, we'll attempt to answer the question that everyone wants to know. Will this challenge ever be defeated? So first, how did this challenge come to be? Well, the story of IronMON can be traced back to a popular Twitch streamer and live streaming pioneer, I8YourPie. In 2019, Pi wanted to stream some Pokemon, but he didn't want to spend time grinding experience like a casual playthrough, and he didn't want to spend a lot of time running calcs like the Nuzlocke community was trending towards at the time. His solution? Using randomizers to change almost everything about the Pokemon and trainers you encounter. This was a whole new way of experiencing Pokemon, and after a few iterations, it crystallized with Kaizo IronMON. Kaizo progressed into a hugely popular streaming challenge on both Twitch and YouTube, and even attracted big names such as Smallant to give it a try. Pi himself eventually defeated Kaizo IronMON after almost 8,000 attempts on April 3rd, 2023. But communities had formed around the challenge and many kept playing, competing for the total wins world record and defeating Kaizo IronMON in other Pokemon games. But then, almost 1 year later, on March 14th, 2024, Pi tweeted that he had developed a new rule set he initially called Impossible IronMON. Followed on March 17th by a cryptic altered image of the fire red start menu. 2 days later, the rules were officially announced and Pi began runs on stream. Super Kaizo IronMON was born. So what's changed for Super Kaizo? As usual, there's a bunch of minor changes, but also some big ones that have a huge impact on the challenge. First, Smart AI is now set for every trainer, where previously it was mostly confined to gym leaders as in the vanilla games, and you have to fight some gyms earlier than previously. Misty must now be fought after Nugget Bridge, Erica before Rocket Hideout, and you can't battle trainers other than the rival aboard the SS Anne. Every Pokemon you'll fight is now also holding a random consumable item, which can be anything from a stat boosting berry to a 30 HP healing citrus that can swing a whole battle early game. Hidden items are no longer able to be picked up and used with the exception of early game or dungeons, and offensive stat boosting items or moves such as X Attack and Swords Dance are now banned against gym leaders and the E4. There are some concessions that make things a little easier. For instance, draining moves like Giga Drain, which were banned in Kaizo IronMON, are now legal in Super Kaizo. But possibly the biggest change, and the one that got people talking the most, is the mandatory pivot at the Safari Zone. Upon reaching the Safari Zone in Super Kaizo, you can capture and compare 3 of the Pokemon there before you must pick one of those 3 new Pokemon with which to complete the remainder of the game, effectively dividing the challenge into 2 halves. So what has the response been to Super Kaizo, and how has the community been faring with the challenge? Pi was very careful to state that this challenge was not intended as an official IronMON rule set. But that didn't stop some people from reacting with strong emotions about the perceived difficulty of the challenge. In fact, Pastebin even took down the official rules for the challenge, deeming the post potentially harmful. The majority of the Kaizo community, however, decided to try it out for themselves before forming any opinions, and have been playing it for a few months now. It turns out that this challenge was every bit as difficult as we'd first thought. This difficulty is not just the mandatory Safari pivot. The addition of smart AI and consumable items for every trainer makes the tough early game from regular Kaizo seem light by comparison. With some bad luck, I managed to go 4 weeks, or roughly 40 hours of playtime, without defeating Brock once. And once you clear Brock, it doesn't get any easier. Smart AI means you'll be hit harder and statused more often. But the reduced items you're allowed to pick up mean you'll have less heals than ever before to combat this. Early Misty and Erica are also no joke and can easily end runs. All of these factors combined caused me to lose my 2 best runs in Erica's gym, mainly due to status conditions that I didn't have items to heal with. Ooh, please don't. I think it's over. Damn, I spoke too soon. That's GG's. No, that's it! No! I shouldn't have mentioned the status healing! Now, the Safari pivot does introduce some interesting decision making to Super Kaizo. Ideally, you must balance the experience on your first Pokemon and go through the game barely scraping by on experience. This often causes a more difficult mid-game for your first Pokemon, but ultimately rewards the player once they eventually do reach Safari. The trainers you save will then be used to level up your Safari Pivotmon. As a result though, if you really want to defeat Super Kaizo, you will need to embrace losing many runs under-leveled in the mid-game to get as many levels as possible to take on the Indigo Plateau with your new Safari Mon. The rest of the community's experience have been much the same as mine. Although many have now made it to the Safari Zone, pivoting there can take players anywhere from 15 minutes to multiple hours, depending on how far they're willing to go to find the best Mon possible. From there, most runs end very quickly, but a few players have gone on to Blaine's gym, and Ice Twig currently holds the unofficial record, having reached the Elite Four before being quickly defeated by Lorelei. Never before has such a large group of people spent so long on a challenge that they may never win. So now that we understand the challenge, will Super Kaizo IronMON ever be defeated? Well, it's certain theoretically possible, and reaching the Elite Four shows that the finish line can be glimpsed. There have also already been some claims of people defeating Super Kaizo away from cameras. But with the challenge this difficult, it's fair to say that it will take full video proof for the community to accept it clear. For now, the race to be first continues, but who knows how long the enthusiasm of the community will last as Super Kaizo loses its shining new luster. Facing long lab sessions after losing a run can be demoralizing, and over time some players may abandon the challenge. Kaizo IronMON has often been labeled a purely luck-based challenge by new players, but at its core, the challenge is about resource management and making the best decisions for the situation based on unknown outcomes. Super Kaizo IronMON still requires all the mechanical knowledge, but becomes more than ever a game of coin flips where a single tails can send you right back to the beginning. Pi has now reached 2,500 attempts. Blissey Guy, 7,400. Mr. Pineapple, 4,000. Shorts, 3,600. Kawa, 3,600. Salty, 3,200. Callie, 2,200. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I've personally done almost 500 attempts and spent close to 100 hours on the challenge so far. Super Kaizo IronMON could be defeated the day after this video goes live, but It could also be the Pokemon challenge that never gets defeated. You got us to Brock today, and for that, we are proud of you. Gohan's cool. Go to the promised land, where all the tentacles go. So that's just like not fair, honestly. Like, I brought a 335 BSD Pokemon at the gym, and he fucking has a Lugia. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, please like the video and consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot. If you enjoy watching Pokemon challenge runs, check out one of the carefully edited highlights on the channel. Or come hang out on Twitch and be a part of the journey with us. I'm live from Thursday to Sunday, 9 PM Eastern. See you next time!